Going on? How are you? How have you been?
Been doing well, man, but well lately. Holidays were crazy, got sick over Christmas break, all that, like a lot of people have dealt with. But yeah, all in all, pretty good. What's going on with you?
Oh, nice. You look great.
Well, thanks. I just got healthy just like a few weeks ago.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it's definitely interesting times right now.
Yeah.
So
What were the holidays like for you?
I actually got sick too.
Like COVID or
I
just
was
run of the mill?
it was just run of the mill cold, thankfully. I was fine for my son's birthday, which was on the 23rd. But then the next day, just completely out of it. We had a ton of family that came over, for Christmas. I was laid out on the couch. So on top of that, I was trying to, I didn't know what I had, so I was trying to just drink as much alcohol as I could to try and kill whatever was in my system. So part of it was, Phil, you look really bad. Are you okay? And then also part of it was I was just trying to kill whatever was in there. So it was a little bit of both. But
Uh,
I'm fine too. So, so yeah.
well, man, thanks for rebooking this. I love doing repeat guests and episodes to check in on how things are going. We're gonna talk some like client service today. But man, your first episode, we almost got to 900 downloads, which is like almost like the most like we've ever
Holy
had.
cow. What?
Um,
Are you serious?
yeah, so it'll probably get to 1,000, I imagine, in the next couple weeks, which is kind of cool, right?
That's really, really cool. I have inspectors call me from all over the country.
Really? Just what? Just
So
want
it's
network or ask questions about the reviews piece?
network, ask questions about the podcast. They're mostly asking how cool you were. Is he really that cool?
Yeah.
Don't interrupt me mid sentence. But no. But how was Kevin?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll call me and ask my opinion and ask advice and how to get started. I've also had a lot of veteran inspectors reach out to me.
No kidding.
Uh, and ask about the whole social media presence. What's the best way, if they only have so many hours allotted in a day, to be able to spread the word, in regards to their business in general. What's the best way to do it? What's the best bang for the buck? So
Was it hard to handle that while still being busy? Because this was in November. We launched it, or we released the podcast. Yeah, was it hard to just call people back and chat, or you probably love that kind of thing, huh?
that's what I gravitate towards. That's what I feed off of in terms of energy. So I can't respond to them during the day. But I'll give them a call at night, and then just and then talk shop, and hear about what they're doing, opine on what I who am I, but opine on what I think they might want to consider, and then just take it from there. It's really, really cool. It's really, really cool. I never thought anyone would actually reach out. So
Right. Yeah. No, it shows you there's some good value there, and like your energy is contagious. So I think a lot of people enjoyed that. What's well, one, did you learn anything from anyone else, or like are you were you surprised by anything others are doing across the country, or how they do things?
the one thing that I will say is somewhat interesting, but I'm also not surprised by it, is there's still a large group of inspectors that still are gravitating towards the whole, I need to get into that realtor office, and I need to be able to do the presentation, and I'm going to come with all these goodies, and I'm going to buy them lunch, and so on and so forth. And I tell them, you can't put all of your eggs in one basket. And that's the way everything goes in life. Because if you try to put all of your eggs into one corner, what if that one thing that's working right now, what if it doesn't? And like I was saying before, you have to have multiple, a chair has four legs. You've got to have multiple avenues to try and pull in and create awareness, just in case, because it's going to happen at some point. When one thing isn't working all that well, based off of external factors that you can't control, it's really not that big of a deal, because you've got all these other things that are running simultaneously, and it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people are starting to gravitate towards, how do I get engaged, with social media? How does it work? How long should, what's a realistic expectation in terms of how long, should I wait before I should start expecting some meaningful results. So it really just depends. I keep on telling everyone, it just depends on what you put into it is what you will get out of it.
Yeah.
So
and I think you had mentioned you were big on just good habits, not necessarily like in 3 months things will turn, and more of you just do it as a part of your process and the results happen, right?
yes. Oh, consistency. So I had 2 realtors that reached out to me within the past 3 weeks that didn't give me the time of day at all, But I would just consistently over the past year say hello, comment on all of their posts, try to be supportive, and then just like I said before, at some point someone's going to get busy, someone's going to switch brokerage, and their preferred inspector is no longer their preferred inspector, and if you are on top of mind, guess who's going to be getting that phone call?
Wow.
And you only need.
So you got 3 weeks ago, a couple calls, and how you said about a year you've been kind of, or how long had it been since you've made initial contact with those particular?
When I first started, so a little
wow,
over a year.
yeah,
a little over a year. So what I always tell everyone is, again, do not get hung up on, is this person even interacting with me? Forget about it. Just control what you can control, which is being supportive, engaging. We call this social media for a reason. You got to be social. And my wife always laughs at me, makes fun of me, because I always tell her, it isn't called one-way media, where you just constantly post, and then they just sit back and try to wait for all these comments and likes to come in your way. You have to be able to try to create that. It's a true following. And someone even mentioned to me the other day, they said that for them, it's kind of like a mini TV series in a way, because when they choose to follow you, they're following you for for a specific reason. They either find your niche or your genre entertaining, or they're going to need your service. So over time they actually get to know you on a certain level because they see you every single day,
right?
So they get invested in your story. So when people take breaks, they have a lunch break, during the day. They're also not so busy during the weekends, so they're on their phones, or for some reason, if they're in between meetings, they're going to start scrolling. What's Phil doing? What's Kevin doing? I wonder what he's doing in his day. And they see it, they get invested, and then that's where the likes come in. You got to get people invested. You got to get them excited about you, and then that's all of a sudden how you get create that following. But the other thing that's also really, really important is that, and I've also mentioned this to other inspectors, is because sometimes you'll see people saying, well, it's not really necessarily about the likes, or it's not necessarily about the comments, but I would push back against that. And I always tell people, so remember, why are we all here? We're here first and foremost as inspectors to try and create engagement, so that way we create awareness of our business. And one of the things that our society does to gauge whether or not we're credible on the social media platform is how many likes and how many followers we have and what the engagement is. So if that's the way the game is played, you can't try to swim against the current, because if you try to swim against the current, you're going to get tired very, very quickly. So you just got to go with the flow. So if that's what the people want, got to give them what they want.
Got to give the algorithm what they want. Yeah.
Got to give them what they want.
Do you call for engagement in your posts? Do you say, hey, let me know in the comments, or do you ask questions kind of prompting that engagement, or do you just not worry about that?
Very, very rarely. I know there are a lot of folks out there that'll say you should try to try to start that engagement. My personal opinion is that if you've got if you have a loyal follower base, you don't need to say, hey, comment below on this. What do you think about this? What do you think about that?
Yeah.
It's just going to happen organically. And oftentimes everyone's different. Me personally, if I see a comment like that, it's actually kind of a turnoff. Because you're trying to force me to talk to you.
Yeah. And then it's obvious, because everyone, I think, knows that engagement matters. And so if someone's prompting it, it's like, okay, you're trying to over game it.
Yeah.
So what's changed in the last couple months? Give us a business update. Because it's been 3 months, I think, since we chatted at least.
Yeah. So really exciting. I have 2 new team members on my team.
That's huge. Yeah. Who is it? How'd you find them? Talk us through that decision.
Yeah. So I have 2 inspectors right now that are in training. So one actually reached out to me through everything it is that I'm doing organically through the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is that it actually came from one of my really, really good friends. His wife saw what I was doing and saw how fulfilling it is. But then also she has a very good eye, and she said, "Phil, I could do that." So she came out several different times, and she was still comfortable with it and then loved it. So then that just started the whole entire process. So I've got 2 inspectors that are in training right now. So it's actually incredibly exciting. I never thought that I would be at this position after my first year. I thought it'd probably take 5 years.
Right. It's speeding up. So yeah, walk us through what that conversation was like. They reached out and just said, "Hey, are you hiring? Can you train me?" Like what was that like?
Well, the first thing that I said was, I said that, so the most important thing that you all have to be comfortable with when it comes to deciding whether they think it's a good fit and they want to be a part of the team, because I told them it's a 2-way street. So one, you're essentially evaluating me in the company, but I'm also evaluating you. And one of the most important things is that, can you buy into what I'm trying to create? And what I'm trying to create is more of like we were talking about before, a premium experience, a premium brand. Mm-hmm. There's 2 different, regardless of the industry that you're in, you have 2 sides. You have more like the luxury side, more of the high end, and then you have more of like the more of the other side that caters to the masses. So I said, we're premium. We're billing ourselves as premium. So you have to be comfortable with how we do things. We will intentionally be longer at the house. We will intentionally try to educate our clients a little bit more than what is expected. We will try to create a level of experience that wasn't that's not typical industry standard. Mm-hmm. So if you're okay with doing that and going the extra mile, as cliche as that sounds, but it's true, then let's continue this conversation. But if you're trying to just do essentially what the bare minimum is, so that way you can cram as many inspections as you can in a day, which is also completely fine, then we may not be the right fit for you. Mm-hmm. Because that's not my vision.
What are their backgrounds?
So one, he had a big background in thermal imaging. He was. I have my iPad sitting on books right now. So you got to be real, otherwise.
Yep. We're back. You got it.
So okay, technical difficulties. So he also sold solar, and then he's also got an electrical background. So he's actually quite proficient. He just needs to understand the flow, and also understand the template and how I go about going through homes. Our other inspector, she has an amazing eye. She can be very, very nitpicky, which is exactly what we want in the home inspection industry. But she doesn't have a technical background. Mm-hmm. But that's okay though, because just because you don't have a technical background in anything it is that you're doing doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be off to the races, or that you're going to do well. Actually, what I learned from my financial profession is that when I was a financial advisor, and I might have mentioned this before, what has no bearing on how well you do. It all depends on how good you can make clients feel, how great your client experience is, and then take it from there. You have to be competent enough to be able to do whatever it is that you're doing, but you can control that process. And you can control how quickly you can be read into something. But other than that, that's it. Anyone can be successful in our career. It just depends on how badly they want it, and also how hard are they going to work at it.
Love that. Yeah, I love that you have 2 different backgrounds and you'll see it play out. Did you kind of have to scramble to create like a training and onboarding program, or are you just kind of winging it and just saying like, hey, we'll learn as we go? Or how structured was that?
That's a great question. So just winging it actually as I go. Mm-hmm. But from winging from a home inspection standpoint, but in terms of just trying to be able to onboard somebody competently, since I had also like a managerial background in the banking world, I know how to onboard and then also train. So it's not brand new to me. but it's also somewhat new because it's slightly different. It's home inspections. So, and it's also a lot cooler because I'm not sitting in a bank setting, the bank setting in an office.
In the
right?
field. In the field.
I get to be outside in the field. So.
And then I also like that you care so much about culture and client experience. So I imagine some of the training sessions are purely around that as opposed to just the technical stuff. Because some inspectors, they'll just train their guys on the technical stuff and not even talk about a driveway speech or what you're saying when the client leaves or how you're teeing up the delivery of the report, things like that. So I imagine your people are going to be well equipped.
So so what we used to always say is that 80% of how successful you are in whatever role it is that you're doing is not based in technicality. Mm-hmm. It's all based off of client experience. Mm. So, and client experience starts at the initial engagement. So in the financial planning, banking world, is as soon as they walk into that door, we're all on a stage, right? So it's got to be seamless. As the moment they walk into that door. So for us as home inspectors, what is that front door? That front door is as soon as they call in, whoever picks up that phone, they are the gatekeeper. They are the front door. So the way I also equate it in terms of premium versus mass marketing strategy is, both strategies can be extremely successful. And both strategies are completely okay. They just completely cater to two completely different types of client wants and client sets. But whatever side of the table you decide to land on, and you want to be represented in and compete in, you have to be able to do that to the best of your ability. So my wife always laughs at me because I also equate it to if I'm going out to eat, there's a time and place for both things that I love. So I love going to Chick-fil-A. Do you guys have Chick-fil-A out?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I got like 2 within a mile from me and I go to both.
Nice. Whenever I go there, lemonade Frosties. No questions asked. Yeah. Do you want a strawberry? Do you want a strawberry Frosty? No, lemonade.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're going to be competing in, so you could either be you could either be the Chick-fil-A or you could be the Ruth's Chris. But so if you're going to be the Chick-fil-A, you got to figure out how to be able to create experience within the whole mindset of I'm going to try and get people in and out very, very quickly. And then if you're gonna try to compete in the Ruth's Chris space, that's a completely different conversation. Right. So one of the gripes that I always hear when clients call me is they'll say, Phil, it's actually quite nice to be able to talk to somebody that's actually going to come over to my house, because some of the other places that I call in, it's a call center. Or they'll say it's the quote unquote gatekeeper. It's the person that books and schedules. And even if there's only 2 of them, they say it's nice to be able to talk to the inspector. Because cool. I want to get a feel for them before they come over to my house. I need to feel I need to feel confident. So so if you want to be the best, the best Chick-fil-A that you can be, and that's what you've set out to do, maybe it means that we can't just rely on the person that answers the phone and then schedules it, and then the inspector goes out the next day. Maybe you got to make it slightly more higher touch and say, okay, I'm still going to book for all of our inspectors. We can't get away from that because this is what this is our model. But maybe you're going to have the inspectors call at the end of the day and say hello and introduce themselves to all of the clients that they're going to be working for the next day. That's more personal.
That's a great tip. That's a great tip. I think everyone should do that. I think that goes such a long way.
So in a world where we're so go, and if we want to differentiate ourselves from everybody else, you got to do something different, but still within your same space.
Right.
So for me, it's because I'm competing more in the premium space. I don't have that concern of trying to make it a little bit more personalized with trying to overcome essentially the objection or the hurdle of making it more personalized because I've got a gatekeeper answering the phones. I'm going to have it where, depending on the area that they're calling in and they need help for and from, it's going to be directed to that inspector right away.
That level
So
of touch and service too works really well with luxury agents and high-end agents, because that's how they do their business, right? It aligns with how they practice.
Yes. Yes. So you can see eventually where this whole thing is migrating. It's being created and set up to exactly align ourselves with luxury agents. That's exactly, because there is no true luxury home inspection firm in my area. Because there are some of the other firms that are out there that'll say we can handle the luxury homes, because luxury homes are complex. So they have multiple packaged units, they have multiple panels, all these different things which require multiple inspectors. But the thing is, you're missing the boat. I can bring in a whole bunch of inspectors and do the whole house. But the difference between luxury and just mass market is it's not about the technicality. It's about the client service. That's what they expect. These types of people, and I'm starting to digress. Sorry. These clients, they're used to going to a Maggiano's, a Ruth's Chris, a Morton's. They're used to going to Ritz. They're used to going to the Grand Floridian down at Disney when they take their family there. So if I'm going to align myself with those types of realtors, the experience is going to be the same, which means that our company will essentially be an extension of what they do. So there is no difference in terms of client service.
I think more people need to market towards this, I think, and speak to it on their websites. Because you're right, I've never seen even a website of an inspector even address or acknowledge the luxury high-end experience. And that's cool. I'm just brainstorming now of like, maybe that needs to be like a page on the website where like you talk through how you work with luxury and high-end agents. So you do it, you tell them in person and you show them.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. How do we do it? Because we're also very, very family oriented, and I want to be approachable. The one concern is if we create a page that's specifically for I never want to come across as as pretentious. We're still welcoming, but you're right. You're absolutely right. Creating that page. That also demonstrates what our capabilities are. How do you
strike the balance? Yeah, how do you strike the balance? Maybe it's a hidden page that's not accessible to everybody, that you just send that link to the the luxury brokerages.
I was actually talking to the web team about it, where maybe it's a completely separate page that says luxury, and then there's a specific code that you have to tap in, and then the doors open.
Ooh. Makes them just feel, I love that. A locked page where it's just like, this is special access, VIPs only.
So we help everybody, but that group requires a completely different skill set, and it's completely different from a technical skill set.
I love that idea. Boom, good idea right there. So we wanted to chat again to talk client service, basically. So tell me what you had in mind, and what are some things you're thinking about when you said, hey, let's do a round two and talk client experience, client service.
So also the reason why I wanted to talk about client service is, and I was starting to go down that road the last time, is that I think we all, as an industry and as a group, we all need to start, valuing ourselves. And part of valuing what we do is also getting compensated fairly for what we do. Mm-hmm. But as a whole industry and as a whole group, we can't just arbitrarily raise prices without changing anything. That looks a little weird, right? So so we have to create value. We have to create a reason why our prices are different, and they also should increase every single year with inflation. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually starting with, this is also really, really cool because of the fact that, that I was with you last time. I've actually heard that a lot of the other companies here in my area, some of the bigger ones, have started to increase prices.
Affecting change.
So it goes back to the whole, entire analogy, like a rising tide. So if, a rising tide will lift all ships. So if we can get enough buy-in from we don't have to get a buy-in from everybody. But if we can get enough buy-in from the majority of the industry, then we will all be able to increase our prices.
This is really important. I want to pause on this or double click on this, because it sounds like we're kind of a thought leader in your local area, and you're a year and a half in. So everyone has the power and opportunity and ability to raise the bar and raise the standard. Sounds like you've raised the standard a little bit in your area, and others are like, oh crap, we got to start adding more value. We can raise prices. And so I think it benefits everybody to do what you've done. It's kind of a good blueprint.
It's good for everybody, because the other thing too is that so the families that we serve, I feel as if don't really, they see the value in it, but because of the fact that we've been underpricing ourselves for so many years, they don't understand how important it is that we do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the things that we need to do is try to create the why behind our we're starting to increase those rates, and it all comes down to client service and that experience. If we can create a level of client experience and service within either our mass market or within our premium luxury space, then we can all justify price increases. I mean, everybody wants to be able to create a better life for their family. I'm sure the majority of our business owners want to be able to also increase the pay for their inspectors. So, but then also naturally they're going to also be able to increase pay for themselves. Nobody wants to run ragged and do 5 inspections in a day, 3 inspections a day, show up late to things. It's not a good feeling. So just to give you an idea, and I don't say this to be braggadocious, but I feel as if it needs to be said just to kind of convey that it is possible, and this is what we should work towards. So the inspection that I was at a couple of days ago, so I do a lot of new construction inspection. So also remember that so our rates are based off of not just who I think who the builder is and what I think the condition it's going to be in when I walk in. So it's all based off of time, but it also is based off of size. I mean, a couple of days ago when I did my final inspection, that final inspection was $1,200.
Mm-hmm.
So I also booked a pre-drywall and a final inspection on Monday. Each one was $1,200. So it's possible. Now, not every inspection is going to be $1,200. However, if I think that it's going to be more time intensive, I have no problem, and I don't have any hesitation charging what I think my time is worth. But also, it's not just I just charge $1,200. There's that whole experience that comes with it. I'm very, very responsive to answering the phone. I follow everything that I'm doing. So if they ask me to check in on something, or if I need to be at a certain place at a certain time, I'm letting them know when I arrive. I'm letting them know when I leave. I'm letting them know what my thoughts are in terms of what I'm taking a look at. I'm over communicating, because that's what they expect if they think that they're getting something that's premium. So again, for the mass market, you can still be premium, but within your mass market, if that makes sense. It's that high touch, so to speak.
I love, and this is something for everyone to think about who's listening to this. I was just thinking this off the top of my head as you were saying that, if you resent answering the phone or having another conversation with a client, maybe you're not charging enough, because you charge what you're worth. So you don't mind over communicating, probably, because you're like, this is what you're paying for.
And yes, this is what you're paying for. I am very different from everybody else because I encourage you to call me. But here's the other thing about it too, is remember, so I'm positioning it as I am the center of influence. I am the gatekeeper for all of the different trades when it comes to homes.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell them, I may not know all of the answers, but I can point you in the right direction. But guess what that does? If they now view me as their essential financial advisor, so the financial advisor is the whole circle for the whole entire relationship, which then refers out to all these different people. I'm always on top of mind. So the next time one of their friends or family needs help, guess who they're calling? Because they know they don't get that from anybody else.
Beautiful.
So that's the difference maker. And I've heard from other people too that have called me. They'll say, Phil, your mindset is completely different, because I just attended this conference, and it's a whole bunch of the of the old guard, where the whole mentality is no callbacks. This is how you do it so you don't get any callbacks. And my mentality is, no, 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 no. You want callbacks, but you want the good ones. The ones where they ask questions about their house 2 months later on because they don't know how to do something, because that demonstrates they actually see you as a knowledge resource. I want callbacks. You need to call me.
I love that. I love that. What do you know about what your average inspection fee is? Have you?
So I hover around 650.
650. Awesome.
I hover around 650. So because of the fact that I'm now starting to move more towards the luxury market, that's why you're also seeing those prices go up. But then also the fact that I'm encouraging callbacks, that's also justifying price increases, because it's now no longer just about the actual inspection itself.
Right.
And they're not just basing the rate and comparing it to everybody else based off of the inspection. Now they're comparing to, this is everything that I'm getting along with the inspection. If that makes sense. So
it
then
does. Everyone needs to be doing this. I said this last time, everyone needs to be thinking about what else you can offer for a premium experience that is twice the national average, because I think 350, 360 is like the national average for an inspection fee. You're just valuing your time.
You can't just flip the switch overnight. Mm-hmm. It takes time, and for some folks, it's going to take a little, that time. It's because you have to be comfortable with starting to become that resource. But once you're comfortable being that resource, there's going to be a huge paradigm shift. I'm going to predict this now. There's going to be a huge paradigm shift or a fundamental shift in our industry. It's going to be, you're going to see the shift, this pivot towards more of a service-oriented type of industry, as opposed to something that's very, very transactional, because they're going to start to see that once they now become the center of influence, or the gatekeeper, if you will, now all of a sudden you can have your own book of business. Clients will come back to you over and over again for other things. So if we all test for mold, at some point they will probably run across an instance where they might have a question of whether or not it's impacting the air quality in their house. Guess who they're going to call first? But guess what all this means? As you are now the center of influence, it limits the need to have to go to the realtor offices. It limits the need to have to do SEO, to do Yelp ads, to do Google ads, because that type of stuff doesn't need to happen for an extended period of time. It's only meant to be there as a temporary crutch until you have a book of business that's so large now that it's just constantly moving. It's just constantly going. We should, if we all do this correctly, at some point, we should be probably about 90% referral based, where we wake up every single morning and the phone just rings, because it's existing clients that have problems, and we're there to solve them.
Are you thinking about how this can potentially scale? So you think like there's only one Philip at your company.
Yeah.
How are you thinking about when your volume is 2 to 3x where it is now, of being able to still have that time and attention? Or does it scale specifically because you're not doing 4 inspections a day? You do have the time to give everyone that attention.
Yeah. So that's where my build out is different from the mass market build out. So that's where, depending on where you decide to land, then you'll have to create it just a little bit differently. But where I've decided to land is, so essentially I will never be overwhelmed to the point where that type of experience goes away, because now that I'm pretty much at capacity, that's why you see that I'm training 2 other inspectors. So the way it's working, so it's the exact opposite. So where if I was on the mass market side, what I do is I set up a call center, or a person that answers the phones, and then whoever's the next inspector that's available, that person goes up and sees the client. But the problem is there is inconsistency. There's always a question mark in the realtor's mind or in the client's mind. Who are they going to get? I don't know if Susie has the same level of consistency as Amy. Mm-hmm. But the way that I decided to do it is I want each inspector that comes on board, that any new client that they take in, that is their own book of business. So once that inspector is at capacity, new inspector, then that inspector builds his or her book of business. Once they're at capacity, new inspector. So that's the way that so this is how we do it as financial advisors. So we do it as, so you can have multiple financial advisors that serve, let's say I'm in Frederick, so that serve Frederick County. And so whenever a realtor goes to, needs help, or an investor needs help, they only know me. I am the face of Frederick Home Inspection Services. But since now that I'm pretty much at capacity, when we have these new inspectors coming on board, that person is the only person that they know. And they are the face of Frederick Home Inspection Services. And that's how the consistency is the same across the board. Because that person never takes on essentially new people that they don't know. They're not being fed the next available, if that makes sense. So now they have their own center of influence within their book, and that's how it gets managed. And then the other interesting thing is you can also, on a business owner end, you can actually compare on the back end how profitable each person's book is. Because everyone has a different skill set and everyone has a different way of managing things. So, so this, inspector, X has increased, her business by 20%. Inspector A has, did it by 15. Congratulations. Both of you guys did well. And you can set goals because everyone's going to be at a completely different stage of growth within their career. So you're not competing against somebody else. You're just essentially having them compete against themselves, which is, can you do better than what you did last year? This is what your book grew. This is what your book made. Can you do better? And this is what you contributed to the overall team. But this is also part of what I was telling you about on the last podcast in terms of creating ownership. Within for Disney empowers all of their employees that if they see something, they don't have to ask for managerial approval. They just go and do it because that's what great client services is about. So this is how we also can start to create the buy-in. It's their book. They control how profitable they are. They are the face of the company. So whatever it is that you need and you feel needs to be done in order to make sure that your book continues to grow, you do that. You don't have to necessarily call me and ask me if this is something that you can do to make sure that that client has a great client experience.
Do they own agent relationships too? So is it like the agents they work with, that's considered maybe part of their book?
That's part of their book.
Okay.
And that's what one of the things that's so important, because I hear agents lamenting all the time. I don't know who I am getting. I don't know who I'm getting. I don't know what the experience is like. Therefore, I'm always a little bit on edge. But right. If I get a person every single time and that person is the face of the company, you have consistency across the board. And also on top of that, you are now creating a relationship with that agent. So if for some reason, if that agent, goes to another place, guess what? They have such a connection with that particular inspector. They're going to be a lot less likely to change because they're no longer sending referrals to the company. So they're no longer sending referrals to Frederick Home Inspection Services. They're sending it to the inspector. The relationship is with the inspector, not the company. And that's what creates that whole snowball effect. And that's how you're able to scale it the premium way.
You get that much more buy-in from your people too, because they are the face of the company. They get buy-in, they feel accountable, they feel ownership. Let's go back to this premium thing, because I think it's that important and it requires, I think it warrants us talking about it more. What advice would you give, like a first or second step for someone that says, man, 650, that is beautiful. Like I want to move towards that direction. How would you even guide someone to start thinking about it in that way?
So one, that's a great question. So you know how it's just like during the summertime, and during the summer times here, it's not as warm as down in Florida. So the pool's going to be a little bit cold when you first jump in, right? Especially around Memorial Day. So if you kind of just toe you just put your foot in the water, it's cold. It's going to take you a while to get in, or you can just jump right in. You'll get shocked for the first couple of seconds, but then after that, then it's fine. Mm-hmm. It's no different than this. If you try to drag yourself slowly into increasing fees, you're not going to be where you want to be, because you're always going to come up with an excuse as to the reason why it's not going. But if you just tell yourself, you know what, this year is going to be my year. I'm going to work less. I'm going to get paid more. I'm going to have more family time. Just do it. You're going to get no's, but that's okay. Not everyone's going to tell you yes, but the majority of them, if you're able to articulate the value of your service and you have conviction, behind your voice, they will see value in that and they will pay you. So what I always tell, to go back to your question. So one, just do it. Change your prices across the board. No questions asked. Two, client service. So that also, so how do we convey that level of client service? So for a home inspector that's maybe about a year in and they need to start changing the direction, what I would first do is I would go to every single one of the clients that I helped last year, and I would call them and I would say, hey, just want to check in with you. How's the house? How's the house? And then after you catch up with them, then ask, hey, can you do me a huge favor? I'm trying to grow my business. I know that you loved me, and that you thought I did an amazing job for you. Would you mind leaving me a review? Have that person leave you a review. So one of the ways that you're going to have to justify higher prices is you need a lot of reviews. Remember last time it took me around 70 reviews before my phone started ringing.
Every 70, right? That was kind of the magic number, I think.
Yeah.
You referenced, right? About 70.
Yeah. So if you're going to start increasing prices, you're going to need a lot of reviews. You're going to need a good amount. So we don't know what that number is going to be for your specific area, but you just know you need a whole bunch of them. So start going back. And if you generally did a great job, for the families that you help, they are going to want to help you.
Yes. But you got to carve time out for that. I'll add that it's like never a good time to say no to a job. But if the trade-off is getting another 5, 10, 15 reviews a week, that's what you did.
It's worth it, because that means it's less realtor offices, or eventually no realtor offices. It means, less Google ads and less Yelp ads, so on and so forth.
Beautiful.
So remember, it's so cliche, but it's true. Remember, anything in life that's worth doing is hard. So
great advice.
It's really important. It's really important to do. But the other thing is, if you're not all about high touch now, like how I was describing, today's your day. Today starts high touch. So if a realtor calls you and says that I have an inspection for you, we got to go here tomorrow. This is the date. So you say, thank you so much, Mr. or Mrs. Realtor. Give me all the information. I will call the client tonight, introduce myself and say hello. I will set proper expectations as to what the experience is going to be like and what they can expect. And then you do that. And then after that phone call, then you call back your realtor or your center of influence and say, hey, thanks so much for the referral. I just spoke to your client. They're good to go. But you know what that's doing? That's doing what the high-end realtors already do.
Yes.
You have to mimic them. So over communicate. That's a big
already feels premium to me compared to what the average is in our industry. That alone, I know it's not the only thing you do. I know you do like 20 other things, but like that touch point alone is worth real value in dollars in the client's head. It's hard to put a price on it, but like you can probably already charge more if you're willing to do that.
Yes. And the realtors will start to see, the realtors will start to see that, because like you said, nobody does that. So that also creates the buzz. There are tons of realtors coming on board every single day. So when they ask who to go to, wouldn't you want to be the first person that all probably say you should really go to this person, because their client service is so different.
All right, so that's great.
And it's no different than after the inspection. So if you've completed the inspection, and if you're one of the inspectors that sends out the inspection report that same day, or even if it's after the day after, I utilize not just the automated text that Spectora sends to everybody, which I love, because that also helps me, just in case for some reason if I'm not able to get to it right away.
Right.
I also text the realtor, hey, just so you know, report's out. call me if you need me. Do the same thing to the client, even though I've got the auto text set up. Reports out. Let me know as soon as you read it. Let me know. Let's talk about it. So even if they don't want to talk about it, I still said, let's talk about it. I am going out of my way to demonstrate that I care. Nobody else is doing that. And it doesn't take that much time. So if you're a part of more of like the mass market strategy, it still only takes maybe a couple minutes out of your day to call your clients back from the previous day and say, hey, so your report's out. Call me if you need me. I may not be able to, but remember, we always set proper expectations so that way clients aren't upset. So we also tell them, hey, so I just sent out the report. Call me if you have questions. Just so you know, I'm in inspections during the day. I may not be able to answer right away, but I will be able to get back to you as soon as I'm able. And they also appreciate that because they see that you're very on top of things. It's very, if I can anticipate what their question is going to be or what their need is going to be, that's also high level. Anticipating their need before they tell me. So for things like, so perfect example, I have a realtor that I just started working with. He's also very, very high touch, very meticulous and very, very methodical. And I was at a historical home that was built in the early 1900s. And this was the first one where I knew that he was going to have to negotiate. And he had never seen the repair request builder. He doesn't know what it is because the other inspectors that he uses doesn't use Spector. So when I texted him and I said, here's the report's out, call me if you have questions. I also already called your client and went through the whole entire summary with him just to make sure that he doesn't have any questions. Also, here's the link to, since I know that you're not familiar with Spector, here's the link to the repair request builder. I added the tutorial so you know how to actually do it. Call me if you have questions because you're going to need it to negotiate. And he goes, Phil, okay. Oh my God. I knew he was going to say, Phil, this is a lot. And what are the big things I'm gonna have to negotiate? I've already handled that and said, here's the link that you need to use to educate yourself on how to actually set up the repair request builder. Not a lot of people. Huh?
What was his reaction or response?
He said, oh my God, wow, this is amazing. So but again, when we go into these high-end establishments, regardless if it's for dining or if it's to stay overnight, this is what these industries do. They're trying to anticipate that the client's need or exceed their expectations every single time. So it's no different for us, with what we do on a daily basis. It's just, you just have to gear it towards, your mass market strategy or your premium strategy or your luxury strategy. But regardless, you still have to do it. Right. If you want to grow.
If you want to grow and if you want to be on the high end of whatever your strategy is, price-wise, you got to do these things. Maybe to a lesser degree, like you said, if you're going after the 4 or 5 a day, maybe you don't have as much time, and that's okay. But like, you still got to be premium for the segment you're playing in. And I love how you make that distinction of like, what game are you playing, and then play it at a really high level.
Yes, but here's the other thing too that I was talking to one of my team members about the other day, is that so if you're falling into that category where you're doing mass market, so you're doing 4 a day, 5 a day, I would encourage you to ask yourself the question, when you have a little bit of downtime, why are you doing 4 or 5 a day?
3's even a lot. If they're big house,
three's a lot. Are you doing it because you just love what you do, which is totally cool, or are you doing it because you need the revenue? If the answer is that you're doing it because you need the revenue, there's a better way to collect the same amount of revenue and not run around with your head cut off. There's a better way to do it. When I was at that new construction inspection the other day, where it was 3 times or 4 times whatever it is the industry average, I didn't have a care in the world. I was hanging out. I made besides inspecting, I also made content for my social media. I'm not worried about being at the next place on time. I am worried about providing an amazing client experience, tagging everything that needs to be noted and brought to the builder's attention. But then also, my quality of life is so much better than trying to do 5. Because I charged appropriately. One of my teammates calls it so I call it hanging out. I just hang out at people's houses and just happen to point out things because I'm not rushed. I'm not rushed.
What do you set certain time slots that you do inspections at each day? Is it like 9 and 1, or is it just open scheduling to where whenever they
One
need
in the
it?
morning, one in the morning, one in the afternoon.
Okay.
That's it. Depending on the complexity of the build or the home or the resale, I know how early I need to start. So 8 a.m., 8:30, 9, 9:30, 10, whatever it is, and then I'll start the next inspection after that accordingly. So I have a lot of flexibility in my schedule because I'm not cramming the 3 to 4 or 5.
Totally.
My work-life balance is so much better than if I was trying to do so many.
How's the social content going? How's that? Is that evolving? Are you finding things in homes that, I've watched some of it and I love it. And I think everyone needs to follow your Instagram account. We'll shout that out. But how is that? Is it fun still?
Did you see the one that I posted yesterday, where it was a whole bunch of people screaming in the background, and I walked out of a new construction home?
No, no.
When you get a chance,
Yeah.
look at my most recent reel. I walked out of a new construction home, and it's like a whole bunch of like screaming fans in the background. I'm like, so it's really good. I started gravitating towards reels just to mix it up and change it up a little bit.
Yep.
It's really good. I think the highest amount of likes, and again, people don't always say, don't count how many likes that you have or the comments, because there's so many other things. But remember, again, our society values certain things, and if they're going to gauge how credible you are based off of those types of parameters, you're gonna have to play. You're gonna have to play to the game. So I think the most amount of likes was around, I think I've almost hit 330 on one post. So for me, after just a year of being on Instagram, I think that's pretty cool. There are a ton of people that like quadruple what I do on a daily basis in terms of likes. But I think for me and where I am, that's really cool. Like I never thought I would have over 300 likes on one post. I mean, so
it's great.
So yeah,
and you're having fun with it. And I just listened to Facebook's like earnings call the other day because they own Instagram, and it's all about reels gets you more visibility because that's one of Facebook's priorities, is to eventually monetize reels. So guess what, if you make reels, they're going to show them in more places to more people. And so I think it's smart you're doing that for what it's worth. I think reels are kind of what Facebook cares about the most. So
I think too, the other thing I was telling a couple of inspectors the other day is that remember, so when we go to social media, people go first and foremost to the platforms for entertainment.
Yep.
For entertainment, to be social. So if we're constantly posting things about this is the reason why your sediment trap is too short, and what's going to happen if you're every once in a while, that's cool, but it can't be every single time, because then people are going to tune you out so fast, and you're not going to get what you want out of it.
Here, repeat that again, because I think most inspectors need to hear this and get it through their heads. Most people don't care and don't speak like our industry does. We may nerd out to that stuff because that's what we deal with every day. They don't care.
if I tried to show somebody for my last 40 posts, if I only talked about why it's bad for your flame in the furnace to be orange, or why your TPR valve is too high, I'll get tuned out so fast. And I'll have zero engagement. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to try to get like a captive audience where I'm trying to entertain the best way that I know how, and every once in a while sprinkle in education and tidbits in terms of what to look for, so that way I'm creating credibility, and then when the time comes, they know who to go to.
How do you find ideas, or how do you find the creativity to post about other things, or like how would you advise someone to even say, oh, Philip, I don't know how to talk about anything else besides, TPR valves and plumbing pipes. Like what do I talk about?
That's a great question. So, well, one, I would make it more personable.
Mm.
So if you've got a mix between the two, maybe you use posts to make it more of the technical aspect of things, and then your stories make that more personable, or switch it. Because people are also going to gravitate towards you because you're human. If you're always posting about your work, you're not a person. You're not a person anymore.
Great call. Such a good
So
call.
so you want to be known as, let's say, you are Kevin that happens to do home inspections. You don't want to be known as Kevin the home inspector,
Mm.
because now it's just a job.
It's not interesting. Yeah, that's not
And it's
interesting.
not interesting. And they can't connect with you. They can't connect with you. But if they can, every once in a while, you're at a winery, you're at a brewery, you're having fun on vacation, and maybe every once in a while you send them, post a picture of the family having fun. Now you're a human being, and they can relate to you. That's the thing. We can never lose sight of that, because it's really, really cool to see a big company always talking about technicalities, but it's also very boring. And that's not what social media is for. And too many companies actually do that. So only the biggest of the biggest companies can actually get away with that.
Right.
For everybody else, we can't do that. We don't have the pool.
That's a gem. That's a gem. We got to leave it there, man. I want to be respectful of both of our time. We got a minute left, but that right there could change people's businesses. That last few minutes that you just said of like, be a human that people can relate to. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Man, this flew by again. The hour flies by when we're talking. We might have to do a regular series or something, because you have
That'll be a lot of fun.
You have so much to say, and you're so damn good for the industry. I just everything you say, I'm sitting here like nodding and saying like preach, because it needs to be said more. And I'm going to have you on as many times as possible to hammer these messages home.
I would love to do it, and it's all repeatable. It's not rocket science.
This is fun, man. Phil, I'm going to post links to everything in the description here to let everyone know how to get a hold of you. You'll probably get more calls and more people coming to you, but thank you for always sharing good energy and tips. And you're so selfless, and all the success you're having, man. It's so
Thanks, Kevin. And you're very welcome. There's room for everybody at the top. That's the most important thing to know. So
there's enough success. There's enough success for all of us.
Yes, there is.
Right on, man. Well, have a good rest of your day. Thank you again.
Good seeing you.
You too.
Take it easy.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye.